Am I audible now?
Yeah, hi. You're audible, dear.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, good evening, Jaihind.
Okay, it's 4:30 and we are good to begin, I guess.
Yes, we are good to go.
Okay. I welcome you all to the session. I am Vaishnavi Lokapur, content team member at Legal Law Forum. So Legal Law Forum is an Nagpur, Maharashtra based. So the aim of forum is to spread legal awareness by conducting many activity, and LLF Talk is one of it. So moving to your introduction, ma'am. Today we have with us Major Nithi CJ, Army veteran with decades of experience in intelligence and information security. So she served in various responsibilities, including independent appointments both in administrative and operational roles. Majorly contributed towards information security, foreign language interpreter, and open source intelligence expert. So medals she got with are OP Rhino in Assam, OP Rakshak in Jammu and Kashmir, Sainya Seva Medal, and 9 years long service medal. So I once again welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vaishnavi.
So shall we begin with the question answer?
Absolutely. All set. Oh my God, this is the first time I'll be interacting with a law, person who's into law. So I'm really excited for that.
Okay, we too are excited, ma'am. So the first question would be, what do you mean by elicitation techniques?
So let's break down this terminology. It's a very academic term, and people often ask me that what is it? What is elicitation about? And uh, what do you have to elicit? No? Basically, that is the question. So when we talk of elicitation technique, there are two words involved. There is elicitation and there is techniques. So when we talk of elicitation, it means to manage, to get information, facts, or even a response, a reaction from anybody. Okay. When we talk of techniques, techniques are particular steps, okay, particular method of doing something. So when we talk of elicitation techniques, and today as we are on a law forum and we have many of the law students and people interested in law hearing this, if we talk in this parlance, it will be more related to techniques to elicit informations which could be facts or could be a certain response from the subject, whomsoever you are questioning. It could be a witness, it could be an accused, it could be anybody. Okay, so that is what elicitation techniques. And
Okay,
it
ma'am.
can,
Thank you so much.
yeah.
Moving on to the next question.
Yeah.
What are those techniques in legal parlance?
Okay. So
So manner
when
or
we
method,
speak,
we can.
yeah. So there are many methods involved, Vaishnavi. So if we talk of in a legal parlance, it is not going to change much. The only thing which would be changing are the facts which you are eliciting from the person. But when we talk of the techniques will involve understanding body language, the kinesics, that is, what is the posture of the individual, how is that person standing, sitting, um, how is the person moving, what are the actions he or she is doing while answering a particular question, what are the facial expression, what are the gestures of the individual, and there are more which can be utilized in for example handwriting analysis. So how a particular person, you would have taken statements. So handwritten statements, they also give out lot many information. So when we talk of elicitation, we are primarily referring to all non-verbal form of communication and verbal form of communication in the form of there's something called as mean length of sentence. So as humans, and every individual has an average length of sentence formation. So you can even study that, and you can derive. There are many derivatives out of this which can help in progressing your particular case or argument, whatever you are pursuing. So in a legal parlance, if we talk of what are we looking at when we talk of law? What are we looking at? We're looking at justice. Okay, so we are looking at finding truth. So these techniques are very much capable in lie detection, in even confessions. There are many ways you can make people confess. So in a legal parlance, it is definitely a very significant and important technique.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving to the next question, why these techniques are important in legal proceedings?
Okay,
You could
so
brief about.
yeah. So as we just spoke, like I just mentioned that we are looking at upholding the truth. The truth has to come out. We are not talking who's correct. We are not talking who's wrong. We are not talking who's innocent, who is the accused. Here our primary focus would be to establish whatever is the truth. So where there is truth, there is also a lie. Okay, so you have to, and where there is right, there is always a wrong, and in between these conflicts lies where this lawyer, where as you, either a defender or a prosecutor, where do you stand, and what is that you want to establish? Are you looking at establishing the truth, or are you looking at establishing that the client is innocent? So all these parameters will define that what techniques you use, what techniques you apply, what do you derive out of these techniques, and how do you benefit out of these techniques to, win your argument. Okay, and let me give a very interesting example here. I'm not very clued up with the legal processes because definitely that is not my forte. But when I come to the skill part, if I talk of the skill part, I would like to draw your attention to the essence of elicitation, and I'll do this with a very, very interesting example I came across in the internet. So this is of Nalini. If she is one of the life accused of Rajiv Gandhi assassination, and there's a very interesting conversation which takes place between Priyanka Gandhi and Nalini. And in that conversation, the conversation starts with a sentence from Nalini where she says in Tamil that I don't know who did it, or I don't know anything about it. And as the discussion progresses, where Priyanka Gandhi doesn't coerce her, doesn't do anything, she's not accusing her of anything, she just asks very simply that, in a very soft word, and I would like to quote unquote this dialogue. My father was a good person. He was very soft. Why did you do this? Whatever was the reason, it could have been resolved with a dialogue. This is what she says. And she says in a very, very polite manner. Immediately, Priyanka bursts into tears, and so does Nalini. So you see, there's this vulnerability. There's this vulnerability which could be exploited to put her on that guilt, to make her feel the guilt. And I think so. Making an accused who's not innocent realize his guilt is also a very important component of giving justice. I don't know. I didn't have much time to go through the entire legal document on it to understand that whether she confessed or not. But yes, this itself is a very strong, if we see, is a very strong human emotion which gives out that a person is guilty of something. Was she completely guilty? Was she half guilty is not the question. The question is that there is guilt. The guilt could be aroused. And a very interesting, there's a video I would I would want our viewers also, if they can catch hold of that video on YouTube, by a very famous English illusionist. His name is Mr. Darren Brown. And the video is titled as Guilt Trip. And in that video, what they have done is they are testing, they are experimenting that how guilt can be aroused in people, and what are the repercussions if you arouse guilt. So they take a scenario where this particular person they take as a test case, he holds no criminal records. He's not even a person who would have broken school rules. Imagining a person of very high integrity. Now, they portray a series of events where, he's held guilty in a very subtle manner. So, I remember this particular instance where he is portrayed to be going to attend a seminar, and during the seminar, they pass the timings to the other actors a little early than what it is, and he reaches late. So, he's kind of late. So that puts him on guilt. Then in few days, they show that, one of the guests' necklace is stolen, and somehow it is found in his room. So that is all stage managed. They stage manage the whole thing. And this person again is put in on guilt, and the hotel people, they just one of them, just manager, goes and consoles him, sir, don't worry, we will not tell this one anybody out. And then in the end, what they do is they stage manage a murder, okay, and they create a situation wherein he feels that he's intoxicated. A previous night he has a few drinks and he's in a very different state of mind. So next day when he wakes up, he's like, oh my God, I was in a very shoddy state. I don't know what happened. But the guilt, when people start talking about the murder, the situation, it kind of relates to entire thing which has happened the previous night, and he kinds of feels guilty, and he goes and confesses in the police station. A person who hasn't done anything, you imagine that. So if that can happen, you just imagine if somebody is really guilty of something, and he might be the most seasoned of criminals also, but if you have got the right the right nerve, if you've got the right nerve as a lawyer, which you people are very well capable of, how to read between lines, and how to take out the right connotation of what the individual is trying to say. I'm very certain that these techniques will help you to put the person in a situation where he, even if he doesn't start talking, but he at least starts responding. It could be through tears, it could be through nervousness as an expression. And these expressions need to be noted. Okay, so if these expressions are noted, I'm very certain that these will transform your legal proceedings.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. With the continuation to the previous question, eliciting legal proceeding is hard?
Okay, very interesting question. And here I would like to give you two anecdotes to give that. If I don't know, you people have read a book. There's a book called Black Warrant, and it is by Mr. Gupta, who was the jail superintendent of Tihar jail, and he tells the story. So in the very first chapter, he talks about what happened and how he joined as a jail superintendent. So Mr. Gupta, he arrives to the office of Mr. B.L. Vij, who is the then superintendent of jails in Tihar. And Mr. Gupta was a railway employee before that. And because of all the postings that it involves, he was looking forward to this particular job. But when he walks into the office of Mr. B.L. Vij, he says, sorry, we don't have any vacancy. So Mr. Gupta is taken aback. What are you saying? I've been appointed. I've already left my previous job. What are you saying that I have not been? You don't have a vacancy. Of course, there's a vacancy. That's why you have called me in. So Mr. Vij says, no. There's no. We didn't tell you to leave your job. Please go. So this guy, disappointed, he walks out and he's sitting there, and a person in suit, very nicely dressed up, comes to him. What happened, young man? Why are you worried? Okay, he himself is a young man. The other person is around 24, 25 years, and he says, what brings you here? Why are you here? So Mr. Gupta explains the entire situation to him, and this person in suit, he says, don't worry, I can help you. And he walks into the office of Mr. Vij, and after around 10-15 minutes, he walks out with Mr. Gupta's appointment letter, and he's taken it. Now, you know who was this gentleman in suit? Any guesses? Anybody from the audience? I would love to see if they can guess. This individual was Charles Sobraj. Okay, so now you see how this changes our perception of a criminal. Okay, and this actually we have segmented, we have kind of templated that a criminal will look this way, a person who doesn't do any crime will look this way. There are no such parameters. There's absolutely no such parameters. And there are very subtle indicators, which if one would have studied of Charles Sobraj, would have given out that, you know, he's very seasoned, yet he holds certain vulnerabilities. Okay, so what I'm trying to bring out in this is, it's not hard. You know what appears that, you know, you would have felt that how difficult it would have been for the people who would be involved in the legal proceedings of Charles Sobraj. But then if it looks, elicitation looks laborious to begin with, but it many a time depends on your mental construct as a lawyer, as an advocate, and what you're advocating for, and also the accused's mind. It is like in interrogation we often say it is a game of minds. Whose mind is sharper and faster than the other person? The same thing is required. And a very important part of elicitation as a technique, if you are applying these techniques to get information, is consistently recording the responses. If you have recorded the responses, trust me, it won't take much time to reach a consistency in terms of your thought process, and you'll be able to question the accused or witness, whomsoever you are conversing with, in a better fashion, because you have a lot of factual data, a lot of evidences by then to support your argument. Okay, and I'd like to tell you one more very interesting. This is one of my favorite interrogations, which whenever I have got an opportunity to speak about interrogation or questioning or how to interview in any scenario, not just the legal parlance, but in other scenarios also. This is of the interrogation of Saddam Hussein. Okay, again, the most staunch dictator known on the planet, the hardest personality to break in. FBI and CIA went berserk that how to crack this individual to a limit where he tells about the weapon of mass destructions in Iraq. Okay, their locations. And here I would like to bring out the skills of George Pirro. George Pirro was the person who interrogated Saddam. And it took nothing less than 166 days. Can you believe that? It took 166 days to question this personality. He's a strong personality. He's a dictator. He's a leader of his country. You have to interrogate him. So, how much of a preparation did George Pirro had to do to actually be in a stronger situation, in a situation of advantage, to question this individual, right? Um, and how the very first thing and that's where what I was mentioning as non-verbal communications. What are non-verbal communications? Play a very vital role, and it can ease out your legal process. So something like a higher stance, you are standing on a height, and then you are asking questions. If we look at the quote, why the judge speaks with so much authority? Of course, yes, the position is there, but also that assent gives him that authority, that okay, people are here to listen to me. So what did George Pirro do? He Saddam Hussein was staying in a very small room. It had no windows, and there was only one door. Whenever he used to speak to Saddam used to be sitting in a chair. Next, he would be facing, the chair would be facing Saddam, and where George Pirro sits, that chair, the back of that chair is towards the door. And he's creating an impression without uttering a word in Saddam's mind that your way to freedom is through me. So you have to, if you want to go outside that door, it's me. So you have to answer whatever I say. And he was absolutely composed. You can search, the viewers can search for this video on YouTube. It's called, it's a documentary by National Geographic. It's called Interrogating Saddam. Very interesting series. The patience, the composure. There was hardly any expression change of George Pirro in 166 days. And on the last day, such a strong personality like Saddam Hussein, on the day of his execution, on the 166th day he was to be executed, George Pirro visits him before the execution. They shake hands, they have a small walk and talk, and thereafter, you won't believe what Saddam Hussein said. He said, "You are more than my own sons to me. I've always felt so strongly bonded to you." And then they have a joke amongst themselves that if he comes out of the criminal proceedings, George Pirro says that I'll definitely join your company. So they have a small chat like this and a joke. And thereafter, Saddam Hussein has tears in his eyes. When you see this, do you correlate to the Nalini situation and now to the Saddam situation? Totally different personalities, absolutely different social status, absolutely different intellectual levels. Yet the way they break down is very similar, because the methods applied were correct to hit his vulnerabilities. Okay, so no. Eliciting is definitely not hard in legal proceedings. It is upon the lawyer how well prepared he is for the argument and how consistently he carries on his argument.
Thank you, ma'am. So my next question would be, are there any stages of elicitation?
Yes, of course. You can. For the ease of understanding, it's better to put it in two phases first. That is, there is a preparatory phase, and then there is a execution phase. Okay. So what would the preparatory phase involve? So now this is a lot of documentation, and please, all students and law enthusiasts or people who are into investigations, please don't get alarmed that, oh my God, who will prepare so many documentations? But then it is for your smooth execution of these techniques. So the first stage is take the background data of the individual or the subject whom you are going to elicit information. Background data should not be limited to whatever is available as an evidence or documents. It could be anything. Social media. Okay. I'll narrate a very small instance which just happened before our today's interaction, and I just asked one of my uh, known. I messaged him that, hey, I didn't know that you follow this particular person. He's a person who's into, giving spiritual talks and all this kind of stuff, thinker kind of people, motivator kind of people. I said, I didn't know you're a follower of the. He said, yes, I am, but how did you come to know? A very small thing indicated me to that. He follows the same person. I follow him, so I get the mutual followers and I come to know. So suppose somebody is following Legal Law Forum, I'll come to know who are the mutual followers. That shows your interest. A very small little thing. The interest could be this large, the interest could be this small, but it elicits certain information about you. And then, of course, any written statements you are taking, because when I spoke initially of handwriting analysis, this is what will act as a sample for analysis. Okay. Then second thing, you have to establish goals. What is that you are seeking from this entire interaction and conversation you will hold with this subject? Is it just information acquisition? Are you looking at convincing for a negotiation? Because because lawyers are also involved in many auditor and negotiation processes. So keeping that in mind, are you trying to convince them for a negotiation? Are you into a lie detection? You know a thing has happened, or you just want to elicit that this person is lying, or you want to force that person subtly without even doing any of the physical assault methods, and even if a verbal assault, without doing those assault methods, want to make him confess. So you have to define what are you looking at primarily. What is that you are looking at as a goal? And based on that, you have to work out report formats. How do you record instances? Will you be doing a video recording? Is it taken as a legal evidence in the court of law? So you have to work out those things depending on your procedures of the court. And lastly, most important thing, a questionnaire. I'm very sure, Vaishnavi, you would have also worked out a questionnaire to, interact with me. Why do we do that? It puts you in a more streamlined method of conversation. And same thing you have to do with them. Suppose you ask a particular question. What if you have to also prepare that? What if the answer is yes? If the answer is yes, then you go ahead with question number 2. If the answer is no, then you go with some other question. So all this flow chart, I know it may not happen the same way, but it's good to make this questionnaire because it will add clarity to your mind, right? So this is the preparatory phase for this, for elicitation. Now we talk of the execution phase. So step 1 is baselining the statements. Whatever statements, whether written or whether verbal, whatever statements the individual has given. How do you baseline? And baseline into what? That must be the question in your mind. So baseline it into, are the sentences imaginative? Are the sentences, or are they manipulative? Kahin kahani to nahi suna raha hai, like the person is not just telling a story, or probably he is giving out the facts. So all this will commensurate with it should commensurate with the personality of the individual. So suppose if, for example, you question a doctor will be very brief. He'll say this. But if a doctor is making too many sentences, too long sentences, that kind of can create question in your mind, that why is he suddenly, turning on to making longer sentences. See, simple fact, if I make a sentence of, my average sentence making ability is 5 words per sentence. And suddenly if I'm moving to 15 words or 30 words per sentence, that means there's something wrong. Okay, this entire technique is called mean length of sentence. Okay, so this technique is a very, very potent technique to baseline the individual, baseline the statements and facts provided by the individual. Second thing is profiling of this witness. You have to profile the witness. Okay, for example, whatever I have cited till now, let's pick up Saddam only. You know, a president of a country is egoistic. He will have a big ego. He'll have a lot of self-respect. He will be denial. There will be a denial mode in him. So all these you have to categorize. You have to categorize the person into a certain profile, because and of course, ultimately, innocent. Is this person an innocent person? Is he someone who abides by law? Because this is the most important thing you would want to be proven in the court of law. Right. So these are the things. And lastly, applying the questions. Now, this is where, the biggest game is. The game changer will be how tactfully you ask the questions. What is your voice modulation? And this is where I would want to bring out a term called counter elicitation. So when you are trying to elicit information, you are also giving some expressions, right? So suppose I am talking to you to derive some information. I am also modulating my voice. There are some gestures, there are some facial expressions, and they are giving information to the accused on how I will respond to a particular question if he answers yes or no. Getting it? So as a lawyer, as somebody who's investigating a certain case, and you are asking questions, application of these questions, how perfectly you do it is something which is the biggest skill. And I think so. These are the major stages in which elicitation can be carried out. And it is a continuous process. It is a very continuous process. It will keep evolving as your case progresses. So maybe with somebody, you would have to be initially very stern, okay, in your communication. But then you might see that, okay, this is not working. So what do I do? So try a more sympathetic method. Try with empathy. Try to find out what you will initially do all these trial errors, that what he answers and what he denies. All these small little feelers will help you to build a more smooth process of elicitation.
Thank you, ma'am. So why techniques need to be elicited and how to learn them?
Yeah. Okay. So although it's called as elicitation techniques, it's still a skill to learn these. I'm definitely going to tell you how to learn these, but important is to practice these skills. So how to, if you want to know that what are these techniques, so that you can do a basic study of verbal and non-verbal communication. There are very beautiful and excellent videos as well as research papers available on the internet. Try to get more than reading. Maybe you can try to undergo a small basic foundation course on handwriting analysis. That will give you basics of criminal profiling. There are set traits in your handwriting which are used to do the criminal profiling of an individual. Okay. And third thing is learn how to study body languages. But caution, don't apply on your parents, your family members. Don't make them conscious about the whole thing. I remember when I initially started learning elicitation, I used to apply it on my spouse, my husband, and he said, hereafter we are not doing any video calls, because you are trying to elicit so much out of me. You come to know when I'm cooking up a story. You come to know when I'm just evading a question. Okay, so just on the lighter side. But yes, constantly practice these things. And there are very good Joe Nararo, if I'm not wrong. Joe Nararo. I'm. Pardon me if I have misspelled his name, but he's an FBI agent. He has written an excellent book on body language, and there are very beautiful videos available on YouTube where he talks about body language, especially of criminals. Okay, so this is something which you should pay attention to. And once you have read all these literature, how to put it to application, we did a very simple way of doing this. Watch interviews of diverse personalities, right from say Indira Gandhi to an a military dictator, or to a politician, to an actor. You will realize that, especially actors, is very interesting. In case of actors, you will realize that what they look on the screen is completely different from what they are on interviews. And there are some excellent interviews. If you see, even if you watch how interviewers question, that's a very good way to learn how you have to put across a controversial question, or a question where the person will deny. So it is something which you have to practice on your own. The literature, sadly, the literature available on elicitation technique is not concise at one place. If all goes well, if I have best wishes of young generation like you, I might put it into a book. But that's a long way to go. I don't know if I even qualify for them, because I always feel that how much you learn, that much you don't know. Okay, so yeah, so these are the ways you can know the skill. You can pick up the skill. So you have to basically do it in parts. The courses are available in parts. Okay, there are many nice courses on body language on Udemy, on LinkedIn Learning. You can find a series of them on YouTube for free. And then keep practicing amongst yourself. It's very important to practice.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm done with my questions. Then you want to add something, you can. Please.
My only suggestion to you all is that uh, you know we give a lot of information without even uttering a word. And if we want to bring a better and sound justice mechanism in our country, then this is a very significant tool in doing that. So make the most of it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining and making us to know more. It's really a great experience for us.
Thank you.